Ma'am is a doctorate and has been working with RBVRR Women's College since 2003, presently working as Vice Principal cum Academic Coordinator. Ma'am is having 18 years of teaching experience. Ma'am has completed a minor research project on stress management among women employees and IT sector, funded by UGC Zero, and also conducted a stress management session as a part of a corporate training to Eclect Health Solutions Private Limited and Harvey Nash Private Limited employees. Ma'am has co-authored a book on business organization and management. She has also published various articles in many journals and presented various research papers in conferences and seminars. She has been awarded as the Best Paper Award at International Conference at ICBM. Ma'am has also delivered video lectures to BCom students of B.R. Ambedkar University and also for the students of MBA, Pharma, Naiper Institute. Ma'am has also delivered a lecture on managing conflict at workplace to government Zilla Parishad High School teachers and many more to count down. This is a profile of ma'am, and I hand over the session to Kavita ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jayashree. At the outset, I would like to thank the entire team of Equal Opportunity Cell for giving me this opportunity to interact with the students today. Right, so my session today is on personality development. Right, just a second, students. Right, so my session today is on personality development. I would like to begin this session with a question. Who or what comes to your mind when you hear the word personality? Students can type in the chat box. Who or what comes to their mind when they hear the word personality? If you say that personality is about looking good or being attractive, then you are wrong. So what, according to you, is personality? Okay, so no response from the students. Right. Just a second, I'm not able to go to yes. Right. So whenever we are actually talking about somebody, we are describing their personality. For example, when you say that, you know, somebody is interesting, or somebody is a very boring person, or somebody is an introvert, or somebody is a very enthusiastic person, what you are actually doing is you are describing their personality. Right? So personality is what is so obviously visible about us. Personality actually is derived from the Latin word persona, which refers to that theatrical mask. See, it is here on my PPT. Persona refers to that theatrical mask that is worn by performers when they have to enact various stages, various roles on the stage. But today, personality means much more than that. Right? Personality is the way a person behaves, feels, and thinks over a period of time. Now, each person has a characteristic way of thinking, feeling, behaving, which might not match with anybody else. See, for example, you might like to go out and spend time. Your sister might prefer staying back at home, right? You might start doing your assignment on the very first day that the teacher gives you, whereas your classmate might wait till the last date. She would not touch her assignment till the last date. You might be a person who easily believes others, whereas your friend might be very, very cautious. So these are all our personality traits. No two people are similar. It is our personality that makes us unique from everyone around us. Our personality influences our beliefs, it influences our values, it influences our expectations. Personality also influences the way we interact with others, the way we respond to others. All these things are defined by our personality. That is why studying personality, knowing about personality, how our personality is shaped, all these things are very, very important. Right? So, the next question that we need to answer is, how is our personality formed? So, for example, if I'm an introvert person, where did I get this introvertedness from? If you are a very, very punctual person, where did you get that trait from? Right? So, psychology, the field of psychology says that a person's personality is determined by two factors. Right? Heredity is one factor and the environment is another factor. So when I say heredity, I mean the genetic composition with which a person is born. See, the genes that you carry from your parents, right? Just as they determine your physical appearance, they also determine your personality. You might resemble your father, your hair might be like your mother, your eyes might be like your father. So just as you have all these physical traits, you have carried from, these physical traits are carried from your parents to you through the genes. Similarly, personality traits are also carried from your parents to you. That is one way in which our personality is formed. And the other way is the environment in which you were brought up as a child, the initial childhood experiences that you have had, that also has a major impact on how your personality is formed, how your parents took care of you, how you spend time with other members of your family, the initial primary school teachers. All those people would have a major impact on your personality. Right? Now, early psychologists believe that once a personality is formed, it cannot be changed. It is like personality is set in plaster. That's what early psychologists used to say. And usually personality is formed by the time a child turns 10 years of age. But contemporary psychologists do not agree with this view. They say personality is much more fluid. They say that a person can influence or can have an impact on his personality. A person, if he wants to, can choose which personality trait he wants to retain, he wants to develop, or which personality trait he wants to give up or reduce. If that was not true, then this whole session would have been meaningless. So in this session, I'm trying to tell you how to develop your personality. If the early psychologist argument was true that once a person is 10 years of age, his personality is formed, it cannot be changed, then this whole session would be meaningless because you're all above 10 now. But no, recent studies have proved that we can change our personality. But then one thing that you have to remember is it cannot change overnight. Right? It cannot change overnight. It needs time. If people are really interested, motivated, and committed and serious about improving some trait of their personality, they can do it, but it would take some time. Right? Now, but why should we develop our personality? Now, I told you that you inherit your personality from your parents. Why not continue with that personality? Why do we need to change that personality? See, students, when I say that somebody should have good personality, what do I mean? I don't mean that person should be attractive, or I don't mean that person should be good looking. I have already clarified this some time back. When we say that somebody has a good personality, we mean that person is pleasant to be with, that person is trustworthy, reliable. Many people want to be associated with that person. That means that person has a good personality. So any person who is pleasant, likable, trustworthy, reliable, we can see that such people have good personality. And having a good personality is very, very important in life. Most of your success in your professional life, happiness in your personal life depends on what kind of personality you have. People would want to be associated with you. People would want to interact with you only when you have a good personality. So, see, your marks or your speaking skills might be enough to get you a job, but it is your personality which will help you move ahead in your career. So that is how important personality is. That is why this whole session we are trying to talk about how to improve one's personality. What is it that we can do to improve one's personality, right? So in this, there are lot of self-help books, and also there are some videos on YouTube which tell you how to become how to develop a good personality. They say that, if you smile more often, you should dress well, and you should call people by their names. You should always use their names. Such kind of things will help you develop your personality. But these are all shortcut methods. See, no doubt, smiling is important, dressing well is important, laughing or having a humorous side is important. There is no doubt about it. But these things can only change your outer self. When I say that you have to have a good personality, I mean that you should change from within, from inside. You should become a better person from inside. See, having a smile on your face, no doubt, is a really good thing. But you are a very, very unhappy and a frustrated person from within. What will an artificial smile on face do? It cannot do anything. You think people cannot make out whether you are genuinely smiling or you're not? People can make out. Even a small child can make out when somebody is having a genuine smile and when somebody is having a fake smile. So, in order to develop your personality, you should focus more on things like being an active listener, thinking positively, accepting yourself, rather than just smiling or dressing well and things like that. They are important. There's no doubt. You should smile. You should dress yourself well. You should be very presentable. All those things are important. But in this session, we are trying to look at something, those topics which are much more deeper, which are not so superficial, right? So the first area that I'm going to touch upon is how to become an active listener. Now, if you can see on the slide here, of the total communication time that we spend, see, there are 4 communication skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Of these 4 communication skills, we spend 9% of our time on writing, 16% on reading, 30% on speaking, and 45% on listening. So of all the communication skill, we are using listening skill the most. But one interesting thing that you have to notice here is, of all these 4 communication skills, we are using listening the most, but we are never ever taught listening. Have you ever been taught listening, girls? Did anybody ever teach you how to listen? You can type your messages in the chat box. No, nobody wants to give a reply. Right. At least I was never taught listening. Right? I was taught to read, I was taught to write, I was taught to speak by my parents, by my primary school teachers, but I was never taught to listen. And I'm sure most of you wouldn't be taught listening. And the reason behind it is, why is it that we were never ever taught listening? The reason behind it is, listening is often confused with hearing. Hearing and listening are 2 different things. So anybody who has 2 defect-free ears, 2 functional ears, can hear, right? Hear. Anybody who has 2 functional ears can hear, because hearing is only a physiological process. So sound waves hit your eardrum sends signals to your brain, and brain records a noise or a sound. That's it. It's a physiological process. Whereas listening is a cognitive or a psychological process. Listening is much more than hearing. Let me show you the next slide. Yeah. So listening actually has 4 steps in it. Listening starts with hearing. So now you understand why I said listening and hearing are not same. Hearing is a part of listening. And once you hear, that means once those sound waves hit your eardrum, the sound is registered. Excuse me. You now have to understand what is being told to you in listening, not in hearing. In hearing, you don't do all those things. In listening, once you hear the sounds, you understand them, you interpret them, you're trying to see what is happening, right? You're trying to gain a meaning of that. Then you evaluate it, right? You are trying to evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of whatever is told to you, the pros and the cons. That is the evaluating part. And then finally, you respond, right? Finally, you respond. So listening is hearing, understanding, evaluating, and then responding. So when a person does all these processes, only then we can say that the person is an active listener. I'll tell you what happens most of the time. You hear, so take for example, your friend says, now this example is pre-COVID example, not now. So before COVID, right? Take for example, your friend says, let's go for a movie. Or your friend says, let's miss this class. Let's bunk this class. Let's not attend this class. You heard. What do? Do you always understand why your friend is telling you that? Do you always evaluate why she is doing that? No, we don't do it all the time. So your friend said, let's skip this class. You heard and you immediately responded. You said, yes, fine. Okay, I will also skip my class. And you skip the class, you go away, right? So you heard and you responded. You did not understand what she's trying to tell you, why she's trying to tell you, and you did not evaluate. That is, you did not evaluate the pros and cons. What would happen if I miss this class? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? You didn't do that. So you heard and you responded. Now that is ineffective listening, because the cognitive part, the mental part is missing here. You did not use your brain. You did not try to interpret what she's saying, why she's saying. You did not evaluate, right? So that is wrong. That is ineffective listening. Similarly, your parents tell you something. Your parents tell you to do something. You don't try to understand, you don't try to understand why they are telling you that. You don't try to, so take for example, your parents say, get up early every day morning, early, get up by 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, your parents tell you that, right? You don't understand why they are trying to tell you that. You don't evaluate what are the benefits of getting up at early in the morning. You just simply respond. You don't irritate me, ma. You don't tell me I'm not, what, my friends sleep till 10 in the morning. Why do you irritate me? Things like that, So what are you doing? This is an example of ineffective listening. You're not understanding what your mother is telling you. You're not evaluating what your mother is telling to you. You're simply responding, right? So listening is a process where you assess, where you evaluate what is being told to you, not just jump to conclusions, right? Right. Now, many people think that they're very good listeners and they don't need to learn effective listening. They're already very good listeners. But research shows that only 10% of what we hear, this is a generalized statement. So 10% of what we hear, we listen. Everything else just goes off like that. So that means, that shows that most of us are bad listeners. Can speak at the rate of 125 words per minute, right? Any average person would, for example, I am speaking now. In a minute, I can speak only around 125 words. That is the average speaking speed of any person, 125 words per minute. But human brain can process 800 words per minute. So have you seen, did you see the difference? I am speaking at the space of 125 words per minute, whereas your brain can process 800 words per minute. So when you are trying to understand, interpret what I'm telling you, your brain is experiencing idle times in between. So what the brain does, because of these idle times in between, the brain wanders away to some other topic. Maybe what somebody else is doing, what happened yesterday, what happened last month, 1 year back, 10 years back, all that keeps happening. And the reason behind it is your brain processing speed is much faster than my speaking speed. Right? That's a physiological reason. There is nothing much that can be done about it. But then you have to make a conscious effort to stay focused. Just because, just because there is a there is a speed lag between speaking and processing speed, it does not give you the license to say that, I cannot be an effective listener. What do? My brain can process 800 words, but my teacher only gives me 125 words. No, that is not an excuse at all. But apart from this, there are also certain psychological reasons why we become ineffective listeners, right? So the first thing is lack of interest, right? If somebody is talking about something in which we are not interested, we can, even if we want to also, we cannot be effective listeners, right? So if somebody is telling me, about something like, for example, some latest mobile phones, those features and all those things, I don't understand anything of it. I don't understand anything. So I cannot show interest in it. So when you do not have interest in a particular topic, you cannot be an effective listener, right? So if you want to become an effective listener, you need to develop interest. So many a times you say, I don't like the subject, so that is why I don't feel like listening. See, you are not given a choice. To get good marks in all the courses, you have to pass all the courses. It's not like a choice. It's not like I don't like this dress, so I won't wear this dress. You can exercise your choice there. There is a particular dress that you don't like. Okay, don't wear that dress. Keep it aside. Give it to somebody. But the same thing that you cannot do in college. You can't say I don't like this subject, so I will not listen. No, you cannot. You have to. It is a part of your program. Every course, every subject that you study find faults with her. She wants.
Ma'am, you're not audible, ma'am. Kavita, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am. Now you're audible, ma'am.
Then I think
In between.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Right. So some people are extremely self-centered. You know, anything you tell them, they bring in their story in between, right? So that is, for example, you tell them that when I was going back from college, I experienced this. I was so scared. I was so frightened. So they cut your conversation in between and they tell you, you know what? It's the same thing happened with me, and they start their story. So that is a very, very self-centered approach, right? You need to listen to others. You need to pay attention to what the other person is telling, not jump into the story with your own stories. So some people are self-centered that way. They're not bothered about others. They don't want to listen to what the others are saying. Then the next psychological reason is preconceived notions. People have, they already have preconceived notions. Take, for example, somebody says that, there is a session on benefits of yoga. So come, let us go and attend. So your friend says, no, I know everything about yoga. Yoga is useless. Yoga is of no use. That's a preconceived notion, right? So even before attending something, you decide that it is not good. Even before listening to the whole thing, people have such mental blocks. For example, I don't pay attention in accounts class. Why? Accounts is very difficult. Accounts is tough, or maths is tough. So whatever the teacher tells me, I can't understand. These are all mental blocks. These are all preconceived notions. You are telling yourself. You're not even giving your brain a chance to understand, evaluate what the teacher is telling. You're telling your brain before itself that see the subject is tough. I'm not interested. So you don't listen to it. So these are some of the reasons why people do not listen effectively. But then, students, there are lot of benefits associated with effective listening. Lot of benefits. Effective listening is a way of showing people that you have concern for them. You have that you respect them. So if you are telling somebody something and they are not listening to you, that's a mark of disrespect. So if somebody is telling you something and you're looking at your phone, or you're looking out of the window, or you're looking at your dress or shoes or whatever it is, that is your way of showing disrespect to the other person. That means that I don't care for you. You're not important in my life. See, effective listening is a great tool for building interpersonal relations. People who are effective listeners are considered to be trustworthy, are considered to be reliable, are considered to be genuine and authentic persons, right? Such kind of people have very good interpersonal relations with their family as well as friends and colleagues, and they don't have conflicts or misunderstandings with others. Ineffective listening is one of the main reasons why people have conflicts or misunderstandings among themselves. And if you are an effective listener, even though there is a conflict, even though there is a misunderstanding, it can be resolved much easily, right? And not just in your personal life, effective listening will also help you in your career and in your profession. Good listeners are also good learners, right? And people, those who are good listeners, see, most of the Successful leaders are effective listeners. See, when you join an organization, whenever you're going for an interview, they look at your marks, they look at your reading abilities, writing, and things like that. But as you move higher up in the organizational hierarchy, you spend more and more time listening. So, if you want to be a good leader, you have to be a good listener. If you're not a good listener, there is no way that you can lead a team. How will you know what interests your team members, what motivates your team members, what are their problems, what are their concerns? You can know all these things only when you are a good listener. And if you don't know these things about your team, you don't know what are their problems, you don't know what makes them happy, you don't know what makes them unhappy, then there is no way that you can be a good listener. So there are a lot of benefits associated with effective listening. So you have to make sure that you become a effective listener. You have to, there are, you have to make a conscious effort. Try to remove distractions. Try to stay away from distractions. Keep away your phone aside for some time, right? Try to, be in a place where there is as much of less noise as possible. Try to clear your mental blocks. Try to be more focused. Different people have different tricks and strategies. There is one strategy which says that, if you are finding that your mind is wavering off, you're not able to concentrate on what the speaker is saying, you should repeat every word that the speaker is saying mentally. In your mind, you should repeat what the speaker is saying. So this would ensure that you don't wander off, you don't go off the track. So, what I do is I write down. If I feel that, I'm not able to concentrate, if I'm not understanding what the speaker is telling me, I try to write down some points, maybe not every word, but I write it down on a few points. That is my trick. That is my strategy. I'm sure all of you can devise your own techniques, but you have to make sure that you become a good listener. It will not only help you have meaningful relations with your family members and your friends, but it will also help you move higher in the professional circles, right? So that is about the first thing. So I told you in this session, I would focus on three things: listening effectively, thinking positively, and accepting oneself. So that was about listening. Now let us look at the second strategy, second method by which you can improve your personality or develop your personality, and that is thinking positively. Now, when I say that you have to think positively, it doesn't mean that you turn a blind eye to all the problems that you have and just live in an imaginary world. No, it is not like that. Nobody can do that. All of us have problems. All of us have to deal with them. Nobody can turn a blind eye to our problems. So what exactly is positive thinking? Positive thinking is that emotional and mental attitude that focuses on the positive side of life. It expects positive results, right? People who focus on good things, positive things, end up getting positive results. If you continuously focus on negative things, if you continuously focus on failures, problems, your mind is preoccupied with such kind of negative things that it cannot think properly. It cannot look for other opportunities. It cannot look for any positive things. So you always have to think positively, right? Irrespective of what you are going through, irrespective of any problems that you go through, you still look at the positive side of life. Only this will help you move forward in life. See, from morning to night, I can sit and cry about my problems. I can sit and cry about, how my parents, how my parents troubled me, or how my friends did this to me, or how my husband did this to me. I can do that the whole day. But will it bring about any change in my life? It will not. It will only make me more bitter. It will only make me more weak. It will only make me more dependent on others. So, if I have to be strong, self reliant, and achieve something in spite of the problems around me, then I need to develop that positive thinking approach. Right? Everybody has problems. But the only thing is, we only know our problems. We look at our problems in the magnifying glass and we tend to underrate their problems. See, there's a saying which says the other side of the grass is always greener. So I think, I am having problems, but the other person has such a, easy life. It's not like that. Everybody has their own problems to face and fight. So look at the positive aspect of life, and that's the only way you can move ahead. I am sure when I tell this, look at positive things in life in spite of what problems you have. Many of you might think, madam, it's so easy to say like that. I have this problem. How can I still be positive? Or, I have that, I have this. So, it's very easy for you to say, but it's not easy to implement. I'm sure some of you would think like that in your mind. If I was of your age, if somebody told me that, in fact, when I long time back, when maybe I was a little older than you, I read this book which said that, happiness is a state of mind, and happiness doesn't depend on what happens around you. I couldn't believe that. I said, how is it possible? How can I take, for example, somebody is mean to me, somebody is rude to me. How can I still be happy? Or somebody is, taking advantage of me. How can I be happy? So I didn't believe it. And I didn't complete reading that book. I just threw it aside. I kept it away at that age. But later, as I grew older, I realized the profound wisdom in that book. So I'm sure when I tell you this, that irrespective of the problems that you have, you need to look at positive side of life. You might also question the same thing. So instead of me just telling you, I wanted to share stories of these three women, right? Who have proved this point, that irrespective of any problems that you have, you can still succeed in life. Now, the first picture of the lady that you're seeing there, taking that award from Sushma Swaraj, her name is Patricia Narayan. She's from Chennai. She married at the age of 17 against her parents' wishes, right? After the marriage, her parents disowned her. They said that, you don't ever come back to us and things like that, because they were against her interfaith marriage. So she got married, she lost her parents' support, and unfortunately, she realized that the man that she got married to was a drug addict and was in no position to take responsibility of the family. So she had two kids. So she had to feed herself, her husband, and those two kids. And she didn't have anybody to go back to. So what she did, she started making pickles and at home, and she started selling them. But that money was not enough to feed 4 people, right? So what she then did was, she started a small mobile cart, like a bandi, chai bandi kind of a thing, at Marina Beach. On the first day, she managed to sell 1 cup of coffee, and her revenue was 50 paise. But she didn't give up. She continued. That mobile cart, that bandi became successful. Then she started catering business on a small scale. Today, she is the director of a successful catering company in Chennai, which services a number of food courts to various corporates. Right? She has 200 employees with her today. Right? So that is the story of Patricia Narayan. In this picture, you see her receiving FICCI Women Entrepreneur of the Year Award, Women Entrepreneur of the Year Award from Sushma Swaraj. Right? So that is the story of Patricia Narayan. And this lady in the second picture, she is receiving Padma Vibhushan. Padma Vibhushan, yes, she's receiving Padma Vibhushan from the then president, Pranab Mukherjee. She is the owner of 6 companies in Mumbai. Her name is Kalpana Saroj. She is the owner of Kamani Tubes, Kamani Self-Rolling Wires, and Kalpana Developers and Real Estates, and such. There are 6 companies. Her annual turnover is 200 crores. And she has around 600 employees working with her today. Right? But life was not easy for her always. Right? She was an extremely bright student. but faced discrimination at school and as well as in the neighborhood locality where she lived because of the fact that she came from a Dalit family. Right? In spite of being so good at studies, her teachers wouldn't let her sit along with the rest of the students. And her teachers never allowed her to participate in any of the extracurricular activities. Once she came back home, if she wanted to play with other children, that was also not possible for her. But that's not the end of the story. Once she completed her 7th standard, she was 12 years old and her parents got her married. Right? At the age of 12, this lady, Kalpana Saroj, was married. She was married into a family where there were 10 people. It was a household of 10 people. And this 12-year-old girl had the responsibility of cooking, cleaning, washing for the entire household. But that's not the worst part of it. The worst part of it was she was physically and brutally abused. She was kicked, punched, pushed, not given enough food, sometimes for days together. For what reasons? For reasons like, adding a little less salt or little more salt, or maybe, not washing somebody's clothes properly or not sweeping the house properly. For such kind of reasons, she was physically abused. She couldn't take it. She ran away from her husband's house. She came back to her parents' house. But life was not very easy for her here also. Back then, those days, everybody taunted her. They said that, she has brought shame to her parents. And, all such kind of things, that her younger sister wouldn't get, nobody would marry her and things like that. She couldn't take it and she tried to kill herself. She consumed poison and she consumed so much of poison that, doctors declared that her survival is impossible. There is no way that she could survive because she had consumed a lot of poison. But miraculously, after 2 days, she opened her eyes. And in her interview, she says, when I opened my eyes, I was a completely different person. I somehow felt very, positive, which I never ever felt till that point of time. I felt recharged. I felt a lot of energy in me, strangely, mental energy, she talks about. So she somehow says that, I somehow felt that God has given me a second opportunity. And now let me not waste the second opportunity. Let me make the best use of it. So from then onwards, there was no looking back. She learned tailoring. She started a small tailoring unit. They were actually in one Vidarbha area of Maharashtra, district in Maharashtra. They moved to Mumbai. She applied loan under some government scheme and started a small furniture business. Then gradually she became so successful that one after the other she kept acquiring companies, and today she owns 6 companies. Right? So that is the story of Kalpana Saroj, the lady in the second picture. And this the lady in this third picture, can anybody recognize her? Do you know who she is? She is, her name is Arunima Sinha. She is a native of Uttar Pradesh. In 2011, she had to attend an interview in Delhi. So she was traveling all alone from her village to Delhi. A gang of robbers. So she was in a train all alone. A gang of robbers entered the train. She was having a gold chain. They are trying to snatch that chain from her, but she resisted, and she resisted very strongly. She was a national level volleyball player, so definitely she must have been very, very physically fit. So she resisted them. In fact, she also hit them back. So those robbers got so agitated, so wild. The fact that, instead of yielding, this girl is actually hitting us back. So they just lifted her, like they held her arms and legs, they lifted her and they threw her out of the running train. This happened in the evening, and they threw her out with so much of pressure that she went and fell on the opposite tracks. And the moment she fell on the tracks, there was a train that came from that was running from the other side. She managed to, both her legs were on the tracks. She managed to remove her right leg, but before she could remove her left leg, train it just ran over her left leg. Her leg had to be amputated. In her right leg also, they had to insert a steel rod. Her hands were fractured. But in spite of all that, any normal girl in that situation, in her interview, she says, when I was lying on the hospital bed with one leg amputated, steel rod in the other leg, and cement plaster on one hand, any girl in that normal position would say, she might pray to God that, let me be alive. I don't want to die. I want to at least walk. I want to at least, maybe walk with the help of crutches or whatever it is. But this girl, this brave girl, lying on the hospital bed, told herself that once I am out of this hospital, I want to climb the Mount Everest. That is what she told herself. See, look at the power of human mind, right? Who would think a girl who's almost on the verge of death would ever dream of climbing the Mount Everest? So there were some people who laughed at her, some of her family members supported her. So she contacted Bachendri Pal. Bachendri Pal is the first Indian woman to climb Mount Everest. While she was still in the hospital, she called Bachendri Pal and told her about her desire. So Bachendri Pal also supported her. She said, "Okay, fine. The once you get well soon and you get in touch with me, I will train you." And this girl in 2013 did climb the Mount Everest. With an amputated leg, she climbed Mount Everest, and her story didn't just end there. After that, she climbed all the other, like, in Asia, we have Mount Everest. In Africa, you have Mount Kilimanjaro, Australia, and even in Antarctica. There's a peak in Antarctica, which is supposed to be the most difficult one. In mountaineering circles, that is supposed to be the most difficult one. She even climbed that. See, the reason I'm trying to share all these stories with you is they also had problems. They also had every reason to give up, but they did not. So when they could overcome their problems and achieve such big milestones in their lives, then all of us can. I'm sure all of us are at a much better position than she is. You're all fortunate. Your parents are educating you. You're all pursuing your graduation. You're pursuing your post graduation. So you are much more privileged than any of these three women that you see here, right? So that is what I'm trying to tell you. You have to think positively. If you think positively, anything can happen. In fact, there is a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. It's a very, very famous book. That book talks about law of attraction. That book talks about law of attraction. So Rhonda Byrne in that book says, whatever you focus on, you attract that into your life. So if you focus on opportunities, achievements, progress, if you think about these things will come into your life. If you focus about problems, difficulties, you will have more of these in your life. That is what law of attraction says. Law of attraction says, if you want to achieve something, you can definitely do it. That they say is the power of mind. So that is what my second point is, to think positively. In fact, have you heard that? Om Shanti Om. I'll see if I can just share that with you. One second, just a second. No, I think you'll not be able to hear. Fine. Right. So there's a dialogue in that movie, Om Shanti Om. So Shah Rukh Khan also tells the same thing. If you really want something, the whole universe would try to get that for you. The universe will conspire to give it to you. That is what he talks about. So that is what even this thinking positively is all about. The next thing that we would try to look at in today's session is accepting yourself, right? Accepting yourself, right? Accepting yourself means liking who you are. It means living life the way you want to, regardless of others' opinions. When I mean others' opinions, your parents, your immediate family, your good friends don't fall in this others category. So you when it comes to, give weightage to your parents' opinions. Take your friends, siblings. You have to take their opinions. Don't disregard their opinions. But others, you don't have to bother about each and every person in this world, right? So accepting yourself means respecting yourself. See, if you don't accept yourself, nobody else will. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else would. See, each one of us have certain unique qualities. Each one of us have certain strengths. We have certain weaknesses, right? And we cannot exchange these strengths or weaknesses or problems or opportunities with anybody else. See, many a times we feel, I wish I had what she has, or I wish I was like her. If I had a family like her, I could have done this. Or, if I was as intelligent as her, I could do this. It's so easy for her. We talk like that, right? But then the point here is, can we exchange our lives for anybody else's lives? We cannot. We have to lead our lives. We have to take care of our defects. We have to take care of our problems. We have to use our strengths. We cannot exchange them with anybody. Then there is no point in comparing ourselves with others. Why do you compare? Why do you look at others for acceptance? If you know what you're doing is right, then please don't think about what others will feel or what others will talk about. See, people will always have uh, a problem with what you're doing. That is, see, there are hundreds and thousands of people in this world. To take for example, you have 60 classmates. So one day you wore a dress and you want all 59 of them to like that dress and come and compliment it. No, that's not possible. Those people have their different choices. So how is it possible that all of them will like what you wear? That's not practically possible. So this is a huge world. There are people with different backgrounds, and it's not possible that everybody will like what you do, will accept what you do, right? So the first step in accepting yourself is not trying to compare yourself with others. Don't compare yourself with others. Each one of us are unique. We have our own strengths. We have our own weaknesses. So stop comparing yourself with others. The moment you stop comparing yourself with others, what you would do is you would focus on what you have to do, what is within your control, how you can improve things. That is possible. That is only possible when you stop comparing. See, many people don't go by their conscience. They don't go by what is right and what is not according to them. They go by what others have to say. So if others say it is good, they go by it. If others say no, it is not good, they do not go by it. Now that is not correct. See, uh, I'm I'm sure some of you must have heard or read this story. Of a father, a son, and a donkey. Now, if you haven't, let me just tell you. There were this father and son and a donkey going from one village to another village. When they were walking, there were some villagers who looked at them and they laughed. They said, "What is this? They have such a healthy donkey with them. Instead of making use of that donkey, they are both the father and the son are walking in such hot sun," and they laughed at them. So what the father said, told the son, "Yes, son, what they're saying is right. It's of no use. Both of us walking like this. You get onto the donkey. I will walk and you climb onto the donkey." So they went on like that for some time. And then they realized that again few more villagers were laughing at them. So this time they tried to hear what the villagers were saying. So the villagers were saying that how selfish that son is. The father is old, but still the son is making the father walk and he is happily on the donkey. So what the son now does is the son gets down from the donkey and he asks the father to get onto the donkey. Again, as I'm sure you might have guessed what would have happened. Somewhere distance they walk, and then somebody says, the father is so selfish, he's making the son walk and he's happily sitting on the donkey. Now what the father tells his son is, no, son, you also come. Both of us will sit on the donkey and go. Then again, after maybe like they walk for a kilometer or two, again some villagers say how insensitive excuse me how insensitive these two father and son are. Both of them are so hale and hearty, so hefty, and they are both on the poor donkey. The poor donkey might collapse at any point of time. So the father and son didn't know what to do, and they finally ended up doing this. They started carrying the donkey. Now see, the point here is we can't please everybody. It's difficult for us to please everybody. So you need to know what is right and what is not. You have to use your mind, or maybe you see, sometimes we might not always be clear about what is right and what is not. And this is where your family and friends come into picture. Talk to your family members, talk to your friends, but take their opinions into consideration. But don't bother about each and every person. Don't think that, whatever I do, the whole world would like it. The whole world would praise me. That is not practically possible. So you have to ignore what people say. You have to ignore how people criticize you. And that's the only way that you can move forward. Right? That is the moral of this story. Right? So what I'm trying to tell you girls is personality can be improved. Personality can be developed. But not just through wearing good clothes or speaking good English and things like that. Personality can be developed by changing or by improving your inner core, by becoming a better human being, by becoming an effective listener, by accepting who you are. Such things can actually help you develop your personality. I hope I made sense. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your inspirational speech and giving examples of various women, inspiring women students. Thanks a lot. May I now request the students to ask any doubts, if they have any doubts. Girls, you can either post in the chat box or you can unmute yourselves and ask, ma'am.
Yeah, Jayashree, I don't think they have any questions to ask. So
Yeah,
I think we can wind up the session then.
Just checking the chat, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Yes, some students have said that, yes, it's an interesting session, girls, but you need to learn from this. Try to at least implement a few things. I'm sure, that will all, it's not that because I'm telling you I have all these qualities or all these traits. It's not like that. All of us have to learn, all of us have to improve and develop. So it would be nice if you could learn something from this.
Okay, ma'am. May I request Mercy, ma'am, to propose the vote of thanks?
Yeah, thank you, Jayashree. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Kavita ma'am. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks for this webinar. I'm Mercy Rani, convener of Equal Opportunities Cell. I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Kavita ma'am, for enlightening us with her knowledge about personality development. Really, today's webinar was full of knowledge and really interesting things. Thank you, ma'am, for that. And thank for the webinar girls, webinar ma'am, really you have given the right definition of personality, because many a times we use it in a wrong sense. We talk about when we want to talk about the outward appearance. But I think hope the girls understood what really is personality. And ma'am spoke about like the three things. Really, they were very interesting. Ma'am talked about effective listening, okay, and then positive thinking, really, and the examples given were really relevant and really motivating, ma'am. And even how to accept ourselves. I think these things will definitely, if the girls would really implement them in their life, they definitely they would improve their personality. Thank you very much, ma'am, and I thank Principal ma'am for her support in conducting the webinar, and I also thank Sudarshan Reddy sir, our secretary, for for his constant support. And I thank my colleagues and dear students who have attended the webinar and making it a success. And especially, I thank my team members, Salome ma'am, Shata ma'am, and then Jayasri for their constant support, for their coordination. Thank you, one and all. And thank you, Kavita ma'am,
Thank you, ma'am.
for your lecture, ma'am. It was very interesting. Thank you, girls, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Thank you, Mercy.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you, Sampurna ma'am is there.
Thank you,
Shada
thank
ma'am,
you,
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jayasree. Thank you, girls.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Ma'am, did you post the link, girls?
Yes, madam. I have posted.
Yes. Okay, okay. Yeah, okay, girls. You can fill in the feedback form, girls.
Comments.
Ma'am, can we end the session?
మార్సీ రికార్డింగ్ ఆఫ్ చేయండి.
Ma'am, once. Yeah.
Can we leave, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, girls.
Shall I end the session, madam?
Yes, ma'am.